This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. My name's Dylan. For those of you who have already met me, welcome back. We've got our cameraman Yandre that's making sure we get all this to you and joining us. It's going to be a great afternoon out here. Still a bit of a breeze blowing, some clouds around. We're going to see if we can find some cheetah for you this afternoon. It's going to be a long shot, but we're going to give it our best bash. And yeah, come on the drive with us and let's see what we can do. Well done there. Wilson Clark, thank you. That's a really question, and I'm glad I asked it. So, I'm just getting another gear there. So apologies, we're breaking up a little bit over here. Yeah, so a guide or a ranger, you know, one of our key things is educating people and really just giving a wonderful experience. And that encompasses a lot of different things. You know, there's obviously the basics of your day-to-day work, you know, making sure your vehicles are in good condition, working together as a team with your tracker, because remember, normally when we go out, we'll have a tracker with us, and these guys are remarkable at finding animals. And so that teamwork, it's not just about the guide, but it's working together as a team. And unfortunately my tracker at the moment, Jackson, he's on leave. But we've got another team of guys that are out helping us, which will be really, really good. And one of the things, apart from just going out and taking people out and exploring these areas, is also kind of keeping record and keeping track of what's here. And that's how we build up a long-term database picture of what is in this environment. That's a really useful tool for researchers to access. Yeah, so it's quite a diverse job, but the core function is to be able to take people out into these environments, whether it's at a place like Tswalu or Ngala or Juma, and geez, it could be anywhere in the world. It could be the Highlands of Scotland, and try expose people to these environments in a sensitive and sustainable manner, and try and instill in people a love for the outdoors. Like I said, regardless of what environment it is, that they can actually take something valuable and tangible home with them that they can actually pass on to other people. So that's in a nutshell. But please feel free to ask more questions like that as well. It'll be really cool to answer those. I think we're still trying to get up onto a set of tracks over here now, and like I say, the tracking team that's out. So while we're following up on this or looking for these tracks, let's head over to David and see what they've got for you on that side.
Good afternoon, South Africa and the rest of the world watching from wherever you may be. We are live on Juma, Sabi Sands, Greater Kruger Park. My name is David Hancock, and on camera we have BK. Our plan this afternoon is to head down towards Twin Dam, see where the Nkuhumas went. There's a very good chance they crossed over the boundary into Gari, but we may find that they looped back into Juma. I don't think anyone followed up on them this morning, so it's going to be worth doing. Always nice to follow up on our cats. Remember, first 45 minutes of the drive is for the kids, so remember kids, send in your kids' questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Adam, you've asked where is this in South Africa? And we are in the northeast of South Africa in the Limpopo province, on a reserve called the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, on a property called the Juma property, considered the Greater Kruger National Park. So that means it's open to Kruger National Park as a greater conservation area. Actually, it's open to an enormous area that stretches all the way into Mozambique, up north into Zim. Ooh, big bump there. Couple million hectares plus of wilderness that's now been opened up with no fences to allow animals to move freely. So they are not confined, they can follow the old routes of old that were closed off once upon a time by fences, but are now open again. Just checking my aerial there. Well, sounds like Tristan is also out and about, so let's send you over to him.
I am indeed. We are going far west today, and we're going to go and try and see if we can find a male leopard that was seen this morning by David. We're going to see if he's still around. He did have a kill, and so I suspect that he should be lazing about around that area. Well, let's hope. Anyway, as was mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got Alex. Alex, are you excited to see your first leopard since you've been here? Excellent, well done. So Alex is excited, I'm excited. It promises to be a good afternoon. Any time spent with a leopard is a great time, whether it's sleeping or not. It's been so long since I've got to spend quality time with the leopard that I'm really looking forward to it. So hopefully he'll still be there. Also, another leopard was seen on Simambili this morning. I'm not sure who, but they say it crossed into EP, but was right near the boundary, so who knows, maybe comes back onto Simambili. So lots and lots to look forward to this afternoon. I'm kind of hoping it's Inzutini or Tihani, because they're both beautiful cats, and we'd love to kind of show all you guys. Lots of you would never have seen either of those cats, so it'll be good if we can find them. But that's the plan for the afternoon. I really do hope that it all comes together. Maybe we'll even get both cats at the same kill. Wouldn't that be nice? A little multiple leopard sighting. Wouldn't sneeze at that, that's for sure. I agree, Londek, it would be amazing. It's going to take us a bit of time to get there. We've still got a while to go until we can actually get to where David had it. If I got the directions correct. David's still learning the roads on this side, so he wasn't sure of the name, but I think we'll be fine. He gave pretty concise directions, so I think we'll be okay to find it. Anyway, if we do struggle, it'll be an adventure, so it's all good. Danny, who's 8 years old, you want to know what's the fastest animal in the park? And the fastest animal in the park is a cheetah. Well, actually, mammal is a cheetah. The fastest bird in the park is a peregrine falcon. So we say animal, then it'd have to include the peregrine falcon, but if we say mammals, then cheetah would be the fastest by a long way. So I'm just looking at tracks that I see are on top of the vehicle tracks. Now, I don't know if David drove here, but there's a female leopard that's walked here, which is is interesting. We might come back to these just now, but I'm not sure. I need to try and get hold of David. I don't know if he'll know if he drove here or not. But if I just pull to the left, you'll be able to hopefully get them. Can you see them on the road there, Alex? I don't know if the camera will be able to get to them. Just go zoom in. I think you've got one right in the kind of bottom of the frame. Go down, go down, go down. There it is there. There they are. Left, left, left. Those are the female leopard tracks that I'm talking about. You can see on top of the vehicle tracks, the 4 toes pointing towards the bottom of the frame and the back of the pad towards the top of the frame. So going in the opposite direction. That's not to say that she's not here. I wonder if this is the leopard that they found this morning that they tracked, but this would be into Arethusa, not Elephant Plains. We're not too far from the Arethusa boundary. Interesting. I'll try to get hold of the guys from Simbambili and ask them where exactly they tracked that leopard this morning, but this could be another one. If it's in this area, this will be Kara or Shadulu that moves around in this section. This is their general vicinity that they like to move. Okay, but like I say, well, maybe I'm torn now whether or not just to double check these tracks and see where they go versus just rushing off to the kill. I'm not sure now what I want to do. Maybe I shall do a loop and see if I can find this cat. That would be a nice thing to do, I think. Might as well be greedy. Should we be greedy and try? I think so. Lieutenant Aiden's mom, you're asking... Sorry, Nick, I don't know if I understand this. How are leopards different to then? Do you mean... How do they differ, or... Why are the spots different spots? Ah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I don't...
Sorry about that. But we are down in Mulwati. BK and I just having a quick squiz in here and seeing if there was any chance the cats went back down into the low-lying riverbed. Apparently Tristan's got some dodgy signal, so sorry about that, but I'm sure it'll be rectified soon. We are plagued this afternoon by issues, by the sounds of it. Well, Tristan just had a signal issue, but I got an earpiece issue. The monkeys terrorized BK and I today. They were all over this vehicle, chewing at everything, flipping through everything. I don't know what they were looking for. There's nothing to eat in here. They ate my camera bag, tore it to smithereens, so I had to tape it. It's now full of tape, all the holes. And then they chewed on my earpiece, and now my earpiece is being all strange, just like coming and going. So as much as we think monkeys are cute, when they get used to humans and they get to know that there's food in a camp or in the dustbins, and they very quickly become little terrorists and little terrors, I should rather say. But it is part of living in the bush. When you grow up here, you quickly realize that nature and human conflict will always happen, and you just have to take it gracefully. But that was the start to BK and myself's afternoon. They even unplugged some of the wires on his camera. Isn't that weird? Coming back out to the junction now, we're going to keep our eyes open for some potential kitties, but while we do that, let's send you over to Tswalu Kalahari.
So while Jandre and I were driving along here, we just noticed this beautiful camel thorn tree. And look at it, what you notice very, very clearly is the fact that there's a whole lot of seed pods, those lovely grey pods. Sorry, we're just having a little bit of a break up here. I'm going to move back where we got better signal here for you. Okay. So if you notice all along the top of that tree, there's these lovely grey seed pods, but then lower down there aren't any. Okay. What that is, it's not that the tree is not producing them lower down. It produces the same amounts of seed pods right throughout the tree, but it's that those ones lower down are within reach of most of the herbivores, including giraffe. So it's giraffe, kudu, roan, all these larger antelope that will actually feed on those seed pods, and that's what accounts for the seed pods at the top and none lower down. And that's obviously, it's a double-edged sword for the tree, because a lot of these plants actually rely on herbivores eating the seed pods. It passes through the gut, and then those seeds get deposited with the droppings, so they got like a bit of a head start in life, because the animals don't, when they chew them, they don't actually damage those seeds. Some of the seeds they do damage, but a lot of them actually pass through the gut without any damage or minor damage, and then they actually can germinate very, very easily. The seeds that remain on there are almost certainly going to be parasitized by a tiny little beetle called the bruchid beetle. They actually bore holes. The adults bore holes through the seed, the coat of the seed pod, and then those larvae hatch inside there, and then they actually eat the seed. So you'll probably find most of those seed capsules on top of the tree aren't going to have any viable seed left in a couple of months' time. So that's just something out of interest there. But while I was there, I wanted to show you two things that I actually picked up, and they're both freezing cold. So they're probably benefiting a bit by having me there. One is a magnificent jewel beetle. Look at the size of that guy. And they feed, he is very much alive. He's just freezing cold. You can see how slowly he's moving. He's like, warm me up, please. He looks like his hair's blowing back. Those are actually his antennae. And they feed on the acacias, or what we call the Vechelia, some of the Vechelias that grow in Tswalu. You know, the name's changed now to Senegalia and Vechelia from acacia. You know, so that's a jewel beetle, very, very pretty animal, and you get them in all different colors. You get bright iridescent green ones, blue ones, you get ones with blue and yellow on. But that's pretty cool. That's the largest one we got here. And then the other one is also very interesting. Okay, you've had your turn. Now it's your turn. This beautiful big grasshopper. Look at that. I'm holding him very gently. I'm not hurting him. And I'm going to release them both unharmed. So in South Africa, in these areas, we call this a groot gys, which means the big grey, because the lovely grey color. Okay. And you see he's got these big spines on his hind legs, so if something grabs him, he can actually kick out with his back legs, and that hopefully will cause a bird or something to drop him. But what's really interesting about this is one of the most important little animals out here. You hear all these anecdotal accounts about how you can know if there's rain coming in. That these ones, when they start calling, you time the intervals, the seconds between when he calls, when he stops calling, to when he starts calling again. And that's roughly about how many days away rain is, or hours away rain is rather. And so this is a really cool little insect. He's dead quiet at the moment. He's not making a noise, and he's freezing cold. So I'm actually going to take them back to exactly where I found them over there, unharmed and happy. So it's Larry and George, and they say cheers. So while I'm releasing these two little guys, let's head over to, you guys can head over to Ngala and see what they've got on that side. And we'll catch you just now.
Welcome, good afternoon everybody. Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala. Special welcome to all the kids watching from around the world. You are still stuck with me, Sean, and we've got OD behind the camera. And today, we're just taking it easy, hey? We thought about taking the day off. After this morning, we were just like, cancel afternoon safari. We're gonna go sit at the pool and have a glass of water and download pictures. But then we thought you guys wouldn't function without us. So we came out and we are going to explore the south. We haven't been down into the south for a while now. There's 3 water holes we're going to drive past. And it's very, very hot here. I think it's about 32 degrees Celsius. So it's about 85 odd Fahrenheit. So very, very warm. So I'm hoping if we time it correctly, by the time we get to some water holes, we might get some elephants, maybe some buffaloes, all coming down for a drink, maybe some impalas, wildebeest, things like that. So that's our plan today, take a slow little bumble down to find some water holes in the south. You know, secretly, we're also hoping for a pride of lions. There's a new pride, well, not a new pride, a pride that doesn't often come onto Ngala, called the Imbiri Pride. And it would be really cool to see them. They normally come in at the south at a waterhole called Dog Dam. That's where Rowan saw a big pack of wild dogs and the elephants and such. I believe he posted a picture about it. But that waterhole. So we're going to go do some investigating and just see what's out there. See what they can provide. Okay, they're looking for male leopards at Juma. They've got some nice crickets at Tswalu Kalahari. So we'll just fill in the gaps and see what there is out here. But it's been a wonderful day. A wonderful day. Perfect weather now. As soon as you go into the shade, the temperature drops quite a lot. Okay. So we got a question from Natalia, 10 years old. She wants to know, how hot does it usually get, and does that affect the animal's behavior? Natalia, yes. Okay, let's go first one. Usually this time of the year, the mornings and the evenings are very cold. So like this morning, it was about 14 degrees Celsius. In the evenings, it will probably drop to about 15, 17 degrees Celsius. But in the actual daytime, in between the game drives, the temperature can go up to, it's now 2. So it can range anywhere from mid-20s to early 30s this time of the year. And for sure, it does have a big impact on behavior. Each of the day, most of them just move the shade. Especially it is lions, less wild dogs, hyenas, those sorts of animals. The bigger things like the elephants, the buffaloes, kudus, giraffe, they will walk around still because they know that it is safer. Sorry for that little technical issue there, but yeah, it's just for the game to want them the day they know there's a sleep. So it depends on what animals you are looking for. Depends on when's the best time of the day. So here we actually have an elephant, which is hiding very well. Okay, what we're going to do though, well, I'll try and see if we can get a view of this elephant. Head you across to David at Juma, see what he's up to.
Welcome back. We've just come to the area that the lion were last night. I'm just trying to see which way their tracks went, so I can kind of get an idea of which way they walked yesterday evening whenever they got going. Always nice to kind of keep track of the pride, get a general idea of the area that they are in. not seeing anything on this road, so maybe they walk through the grass and around. If I don't see anything on the road, I'll quickly hop out and have a look around the dam. Molemo from Lesotho, welcome to the show. You're 8 years old. You've asked, why do I like doing safaris? Well, the biggest reason that I like doing safaris is that I get to work out in the open, fresh air, sunshine on my face, wind in my hair, and beautiful animals to spend time with all day. So very, very lucky. I don't have to be indoors and sit at a desk. This is our office. Isn't this a cool office? Lots of hyena tracks around. Maybe they were inquisitive about the lions. Devora, age 10, hello. You asked, do we have different safari gadgets for different reasons? Well, let me see. We've got a flashlight, we've got radios, we've got cameras and binoculars to be able to see far. So that's about all that we have on the vehicle. Other than that, not too much is needed. Just your eyes and your ears and your nose. It's important to be able to use your senses. Those are the most useful gadgets that we have. I'm not seeing any tracks on the road. Vehicles have been here this morning, so maybe they drove over them. So I'm going to hop out of the vehicle and do a little walk around the dam to see if I can pick them up on foot. It's a little bit easier to see tracks when you're walking. Just gonna hop out here and I'll keep chatting to you as I go, but what I'm gonna do now is just slowly look. These lines are right here last night, so they couldn't have gone too far. But there's a very good likelihood they crossed over the boundary there, in which case we wouldn't be able to follow up with them. What I'm trying to do is just see which way they walked. So I've already got tracks here that I didn't even see when I was on the vehicle. Looks like, well, that's good. Looks like they headed off in that direction, which is at least away from the boundary. Let's hope they didn't curve and head back over we'll head over to the next road and have a look. Always important to sometimes have a double check on foot. It's sometimes harder to see things from the vehicle, especially footprints of animals that you're trying to follow. Jesse, 9 years old, welcome to the show. You've asked, are there any tarred roads in these parks? There are tarred roads in Kruger National Park, but there's no tarred roads on the Juma property or in the Sabi Sands. Sometimes reserves will make tarred roads just to make it easier for cars to drive. Some people don't have big off-road vehicles like we have, and they only have their cars, so to make sure that they can also visit the beautiful bush, Kruger National Park made easier roads for them, and it also helps with road maintenance. It makes it a lot easier to maintain those roads. These dirt roads or these sand tracks are always requiring maintenance. Just having a look here to see if they walked in the riverbed. I think they went down the bed. They came over the wall, down this riverbed. So let's follow. Oh, sounds like Dylan has got a beautiful scenery of Gemsbok and Tswalu, so let's send you over to them.
Sure, yeah. Way in the distance there you got a herd of Gemsbok. As Jandro zooms out, you'll just see that beautiful setting that they're in, with the red sands and the Coronaberg Hills, the mountains behind them. And that gives you some idea of the scale that we're dealing with here. It's a really vast landscape, but very, very beautiful. And so from where these Gemsbok are, the cheetah apparently have moved quite far north. So we're going to just wind our way in and out across this network of roads and blocks, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up something later. Still quite windy out here, although it's not too cold. It's chilly, but it's not too cold at least. Super tough animals though. They can survive in tough environments. So Tien's cameraman and Jandro in particular sleeps a lot during the day in between drives. No, I'm joking. No. So every time I go up to where Jandro stays in it, the poor guy is just like inundated with sorting out cables and making sure the communication links are working, talking to the tech guys. You know, it's a big thing. If you think of you've seen this landscape that we're in. It's just absolutely vast. It's such a big area, and to try and make all these links work, to have a cameraman like Jandro is absolutely gold, because I can just imagine if we had someone here that was just like, okay, well, I'll just film, and then the rest of the time we just hope it works. You can't hope that this just works. Every now and again, our signal breaks up here, so Yandra is like, okay, we need to get to that point, we need to move to that point to ensure that we can actually get these fantastic game drives out to you guys. And what I can say is that this kind of tech stuff that he's dealing with is probably way out of my depth at the moment. Just give me a normal camera and I might be okay, but not with the stuff that he's working with. So kudos to Yandre. There's another gemsbuck down there, but I think he's just out of view for us. I hope you're enjoying this landscape we're in. It is super cool. But we're going to move on and see if we can locate on this cheetah. Ms. Manscloth, the most territorial creature on the savannah. That's a tricky one, because everything in its own way is territorial. There's kind of differences between a home range and a territory. So a home range, the animals often won't necessarily defend it aggressively against others. They'll tolerate others moving in and out. But in terms of a territory, that territory size can be very big, like lion pride, or it could be very small. It could be a spider's web. Yeah, and a spider will defend its web against other spiders. So it's a tricky question to answer, because I wouldn't say there's ones that there's a particular species that's the most territorial. All of these things are territorial to some extent, and where it does get interesting is that there are some species where territorial conflicts, in other words fighting, could more likely lead to injury or death than others. These gemsbuck that we've been looking at, the territorial bulls, they'll sometimes walk around, but the moment there's females close by, especially if ones that are ready to breed with, then those males can be extremely aggressive towards one another, and they've actually been known to kill each other. But obviously most animals rely on, even territorial ones rely on other means rather than fighting to defend their territory. So they will use scent marking. So they can use anal gland pasting, orbital, they've got glands on their face like wildebeest. They'll use that kind of scent marking to declare their territory to others. They'll use visual cues. So a young bull that walks into there and he sees, oh, there's a kudu bull, but look how big his horns are. Okay, so he backs off. Nyala, which you've been seeing in some of the other reserves, those bulls that do that high, slow stepping, it's a beautiful side-on walk that they do to each other. That's all visual, and they're putting their hair up, slow, high stepping, and that's a visual cue to avoid fighting. That fighting is really a last resort. So there's lots of different ways of looking at territorial behavior. We're going to really make an effort for these cheetah now. But I think while we're doing that, head over to Tristan, and hopefully they got something really cool for you on that side as well.
Well, we did, but it's now disappeared. I'm going to have to try and get you a different shot. Hold on 2 seconds. Alex has pulled off probably one of the spots of the month, picking up what he's picked up here. Hopefully it's going to sit still enough for us to be able to see it. There it goes, Alex. I'm just going to go around to give us a bit of an extra area. But there, it's kind of by that fork there, moving up on the right-hand side, which is super interesting. I don't know how Alex initially saw this, but there is a very camouflaged reptile that is cruising up this tree, and not one that you would expect. But there you go. There's a chameleon that's moving up and is as camouflaged as you could ever imagine. And you can see its cryptic coloration that it's got. It's got the most beautiful, beautiful markings. It's got whites and little oranges and blacks, and that's to try and blend in with the bark. And like I say, how Alex has spotted that up against the tree I'm not actually sure. But this will be probably one of the last few chameleons we'll see for this period of time. These guys tend to estivate during the winter, so they hide away. We don't get to see too many of them at all. There's something that, will disappear now, and we generally see them more in the summer months. But this particular coloration of this guy is phenomenal. You don't often see them coloration like this. They're normally kind of just a grey color, or green, obviously, if they're in leafed trees. So to see this form of color is very, very cool. But how amazing is that camouflage? Super, super cool. Alright, little chameleon, off you go up your marula tree. Shame, moving quite slowly as it goes up. It's going vertically, and it's high up at the moment. It's probably, I would say, about 4 meters up at this stage. So you can see a long way off the ground. Wouldn't want to fall from there, that's for sure. You're going to end up hurting yourself quite badly. So no wonder it's taking it slowly, using those little feet with those sharp claws just to grip and pull itself up. You can see the flaps on the on the neck area as well, which gives it its name, flap neck chameleon. Really, really nice and clearly there, which is super cool. Okay, well, we'll carry on. We're going to go try and see what else we can find. Meantime, send you across to David with elephants.
Look who we managed to find. A lovely family of elephants. It's always lovely to spend time with elephants. They're one of my favorite animals out here. What bird do we have in the tree that's making that noise? That sounds like a lilac-breasted roller. Let me just have a look. I can't see it, but I can hear it. Maybe it's behind a branch. They've got a very raspy call. Oh, there it is. See it, BK? See where it landed on the top of that dead tree on the right. That same tree you got framed if you go up. Yeah, and then there it is. Oh, gone. And there were lilac-breasted roller there. Also hearing some elephant trumpeting down in the distance. What have you got there? These birds are playing games with us. Sounds like something's happening down there, those elephants. Lots of trumpeting. I think we're going to make our way down there and have a look. We can't get much closer to these elephants because it's on another property we can't go to. But let's move forward a bit and see what's happening. Cool, well, while we move forward and investigate what these elephants are doing, let's send you over to Ngala with their giraffe.
Okay, so we managed to find these 2 giraffes. There's actually 3, but the other one's gone in the other direction. So it's just these 2 babies. These are actually baby giraffes. And you'll see they're very, very small for a giraffe. You can see that one's bending down there. So that one I think is actually looking for that lost earring that maybe its mother lost the other day with Rowan. Busy investigating. But the strangest thing for me is that I can't see any adult giraffes. We've been here for about 5-7 minutes And I haven't seen a single adult giraffe, which is odd, you know, to have two babies. See, now look, now you can see that one standing sideways, and it's not big. Look at its head, look at its horns, its ossicones. You can see they're very fluffy on the top. Actually, the whole giraffe is just still quite fluffy. It should tell us that it's still quite young. Nose. Yeah, it's quite odd. So females will only have one calf at a time. So here we've got 3 different calves, which would essentially belong to 3 different mothers that are either hiding phenomenally well or just aren't here, which is quite strange. Yeah, so one is they sort of just walking across here. I just want to wait here. You can still see the one to see if the third one does join them or if it goes its own direction. But they're very cute. Little baby giraffes are very, very cute because they're very fluffy. Like just their actual coats, you can see look fluffy. You can see it on the ossicones. Those are the horns. Their sort of mane, also quite fluffy. Their whole body just looks fluffy. And these ones are also really beautifully colored. Like the color combinations and the patterns and stuff are beautiful. But look, if they are going to be separated from their parents, this is probably one of the best places on Ambionangala to do it. That one's just staring at us. It's a beautiful wide open area. These giraffe can see very, very far, even though they're not as tall as an adult would be. They can still see very, very far here. You'll see now they're already zooming out a bit. Beautiful shot there. The Drakensberg mountain range in the background. But you can see, fantastic place for them. Lots of feeding opportunities. And a safe area where they can see any predators coming if there are any. There's also a herd of impala. You can't see it there behind the bush, but there's a herd of impala. So safety-wise, they are pretty good. It's just strange, because these ones are too young to be away from their parents. I can't see any footprints either. Odd. Very odd. You'll probably find that when we start driving, like 50 meters down the road, we'll find the parents. But it is the first time I've seen little babies so separate. Okay, so Ashton has a question, wanting to know if giraffe necks are the same length as their legs. Now, Ashton, I'm not sure. I'm trying to just guesstimate from here, as soon as that one lifts up its head. I would have to say, I mean, unless there's some sort of fact that is a true statement, Ashton, I haven't heard. But they do look pretty equal in length. I mean, if you look at the giraffe there, I can get the one walking, because this is a bit more in the open for me. Like, yeah, Ashton, I'd say the legs in that one might be slightly longer than the neck. Yeah, so I just got a comment saying that, yeah, the neck is roughly 6 foot and the legs are also 6 foot. So Ashton, you are correct. And that the neck is the same length as the legs. I have never thought about that. Quite odd animals if you really think about the giraffe. Quite odd animals, you know, it's just this long legs, long neck, and a kind of squat little body squashed into the middle. But camouflage phenomenally well. The third one, oh, there comes the third one. The third one just came running out, so it actually, that herd of impala I told you about, I think just sort of spooked the third giraffe. So Anushka wanting to know if these giraffe are twins. So Anushka, there are 3 here, so triplets, but no, the chances of a giraffe giving birth to twins is extremely, extremely, extremely low. It's not impossible, but it's, it's in the decimal point percentages. So I would say these are not twins. They were all born very, very close together, a couple of days apart. That's why they're all very similar heights and that sort of thing. But no, they are not twins. It has happened before. We've had some elephants, about 3 or 4 elephants that have given birth to twins. And I believe giraffes can do it as well. I have never witnessed it though. Okay, so it seems like the kids show has come to an end. Just want to thank all you kids for your wonderful questions about giraffe legs and necks. We are now opening up to anybody can ask questions, even the old folk, on all platforms, be it Twitter or YouTube. I think are the 2 platforms. You're welcome to ask questions. Now I'm starting to think, I think that giraffe in the background, yeah, that one there, might be slightly smaller than the one in the foreground here in this shot. It's definitely a bit lighter in color. This one closest to us seems to be the most contrasting in terms of its color. Its spots are quite dark, where its pale sections are quite pale, especially compared to the other 2, where it's not as contrasting, not as clear a difference. But I'll tell you one thing, while OD zoomed out, it is going to be an incredible sunset tonight. With the mountain, the clouds, it's going to be beautiful. Yeah, so you can see now these 3 little babies are walking off. They're heading further into the trees there, possibly parents inside those trees. So we're going to leave them be, we're going to carry on. While we do that, we're going to send you across to Tswalu Kalahari, see what they're up to.
So here's something fascinating. You'll notice on this bush, okay, it's what we call a blackthorn. Okay, it's one of the genus used to be acacia. Okay, you'll see it's called a blackthorn. It's got these tiny, tiny, tiny little recurved thorns, these hook thorns, that are dark. They essentially almost black, not quite, but almost black. So that's called a blackthorn acacia. Okay, and you notice these leaflets are tiny, small little things there. There you go. But on the same tree, on the same branch, look at these leaves. Look how broad they are. Okay, nice big broad leaves, totally different to the other little acacia leaves. Have a look at that. And what's happening here, that's actually a completely different species to this. So that's actually what we call a hemiparasite. So, or some people know it as a mistletoe. Now, Yandre's tried a couple of times and I've just keep saying no, and I won't fall for it. But with this mistletoe, what happens is it gets these lovely little red berries. They're quite sweet. And then birds come along, they eat them, and then actually those berries, the seed itself gets stuck on their beak, and they come and they wipe them off on a branch to clean their beak. Once they wipe them off, then those little seeds germinate, and they actually send their roots, what we call hostoria, down into the host plant. Okay, and then it starts taking water and minerals from the host plant, which is the blackthorn, but it actually can photosynthesize itself. That's why it's got these nice big broad green leaves. So that's just one example of a parasitic plant that we get out in this area. We've got 2 different kinds. We've got this one, which is called, it's another really cute name for it is matchsticks. It's got these long red flowers that curl open at the top, and then the bottom is kind of like bulged out like it. And it looks like matchsticks in a way, a bit of imagination. But when they close still, if you just squeeze them very, very gently, they pop open like that. Beautiful little things. And the sunbirds in summer when they're flowering, the sunbirds absolutely go mad over these. They love it. Yeah. Penelope, this is fascinating, and it just shows you what we see as a semi-arid landscape, how many interactions are going on all the time. This is just one aspect of these plants. This is like the ecology and the biology of this plant in an absolute nutshell. But over the coming days, coming weeks, I can tell you a couple more really, really cool things. There's an interaction with an ant and a butterfly and these plants. But I'm going to hold that for another thing, because that we can do like a long chat about that. That's really cool. But in the meantime, if you want to look up mistletoe, ants, and butterflies. You can Google it. You'll find some cool stuff there. But let's head on and see if we can find those cheetah. They are certainly proving elusive today. But you know, I'm a big believer in the harder we try, the luckier we're going to get. So. Sophia and Fiona, if you're looking at plants and what plants are dangerous, you really, the ideal thing is you shouldn't be going out and trying to eat any kind of plants unless you know your plants quite well, and you know there's no risk. And particularly, you know, you should always be, if you're learning initially, you should always go with someone that knows their plants, even if it's in your garden at home. You shouldn't, you know, walk around and say, well, I wonder if I can eat this, and try eat it. I ate a little piece of a plant yesterday, but I know the plants here okay-ish, so I'm still learning. But I've got a fairly good idea of what we can and can't eat around here. But that's taken me a long time to learn that. And obviously reading is a really, really good way. So if I didn't know what this plant was, I could come here when it's got flowers, when it's got fruit. I can look at the leaves, and then I can actually identify it in a book. I can read up, and then asking other people. So not just, you know, if you had your parents with you, but going with the trackers, the guys that know, that were born and bred here, and saying, what did you use this plant for? Can you eat it? Is it poisonous? Is it good for you? Can you use it for any medicinal things? And so that's how you start learning about these things. There is the other way of trial and error, where you can just go up to any plant, grab it, eat it. That is what you shouldn't do. That you should never, ever, ever eat something if you don't know what it is. So, great question. Let's see if we can find those cheetah. There's a lot about these plants I can tell you about, but we're going to save some stuff for later. David's still on tracks on that side, so join him and see how they're doing on that side. And we just, Jandra and I, we're going to carry on and see what we can find on the side in terms of cheetah tracks. So, see you later.
Well, we abandoned tracking the line because they crossed over the boundary into a spot that we couldn't go, but at least we know where they went. And since we found something very exciting, I'm going to show you. It's on the ground right here. This is a drag mark. So always exciting when you see a drag mark, because it means something was killed and there's a predator that we can follow. So what you're looking at there just looks like lines in the sand, but actually this flat part here is the body of the animal. It's generally an antelope, I would imagine, by the signs of it. And these squiggly lines are generally its feet. And I'm not exactly sure what could have left this drag mark. First guess would either be leopard or hyena. I followed it in to the bush a little ways and I saw a carcass, but I didn't even see what carcass it was. I immediately just turned around and walked out because I didn't want to disturb whatever might be there. So we just come back here. I think we're going to maybe do a little drive down to the dam, have a look what's down there, and then come back a little bit later and investigate further, because in case it is a leopard there, then I don't want to scare it off unnecessarily. I'd rather go do a little circle and come back a little bit later. So that's what we're going to do. But DK and I just wanted to show you this very cool drag mark, which caused us to stop and have a look. So just in there, I saw a carcass lying under a tree. I think it was an impala, but like I said, I didn't even stop to look. I just turned around and came out. So, because there's a very good chance there was a leopard lying there in the grass looking at me. And if I kept on pursuing and carried on walking towards it to check out what was happening, then it'll scare that leopard off, which is not what we want. We want it to stay there. Could also have been that it walked off for a drink, so I'm just having a look on this road for tracks. Alex, you've asked, what does a leopard eat? Well, leopard eat a variety of things. They're not very picky. They like to hunt, and generally out here they'll eat impala, baby impala, warthog, a variety of other smaller antelope species, but like I say, they're not picky, and if they have to, they'll eat mice and birds and squirrels and scrub hares and all sorts of funny things, even old rotting meat that's been found they will eat. So leopard are not picky animals whatsoever. Here's our leopard track going down the road. Michael Fleet, would you like us to visit the hyena den? Maybe later on our way back. We're very far from there now. More interested in following up and seeing if it was a leopard that killed whatever I saw there. These tracks are looking relatively fresh, so we're just going to follow it a bit and see. Maybe it did go down to the water to have a drink. Very cool. I'm hoping we get a look. Well, we're going to continue tracking here, see what we can find. While we do that, let's send you over to Ngala, who are still out and about.
Who can what? Ah, so we're back. Hello there, folks. So now we have hit another set of clearings. So just an update, we saw a female giraffe on the way down here. She has the whole clearing away from the other three babies that we saw. This one was an adult, so a little bit separate, but possibly the mother, I don't know. But now we're having a look what is in these big clearings. We're having a competition. Owen thought that we're going to see some impalas. Romance thought we were going to see some jackals. And I guess we're going to see a flock of southern ground hornbills. And so far we have seen a lot of grass and no actual animals. So we are all losing collectively. But what we are getting is a beautiful, let me turn a little bit just to make OD's life a bit easier. A beautiful, beautiful just environment shot. See the rays of the sun coming through the clouds, just lighting up patches of the ground. Drakensberg in the background. I think the highlight of this afternoon is definitely going to be the sunset. It is going to be beautiful. So we're all also secretly hoping to see a cheetah out here. This is sort of perfect cheetah territory, or a pack of wild dogs. Down in the southern region here, there's not too many lions. few leopards, at least we don't see many in this area. So competition-wise, Yoko would like to see a porcupine. Yoko, porcupines are very tricky. Hey? I have seen 2 porcupines in my 3 and a few years that I have been here. And here is just a little bit of proof that we do actually have them. So this is one of the porcupine quills that we found on the road the other day. But Yoko, the challenge is that porcupines are nocturnal. So they actually only come out at night, making them very, very hard to find. The ones that I saw, they just went poof as they crossed the road. So a bit of a challenge. For those of you, I'm sure you all know what a porcupine is. But just for those who don't, over here, down at the bottom, there is the porcupine. So you can see this is the quill, and I believe it would have gone this way and sort of stuck out of the back, something like this. Very, very big, much bigger than I expected when I actually first saw one. They're about the size of, I'd say like a medium-sized dog. So they're very, very big. But Yoko, I will try my hardest to find you a porcupine. I'll try my hardest. Hopefully a little bit later. You know, it's cooling down a bit. We might find those porcupines coming out a little bit earlier, looking for food, insects. Okay, so 11-year-old Paul wants to know how animals adapt to the climate. So Paul, look, you know, here in South Africa we have a pretty mild climate. The changes from winter through to summer are not too drastic. You know, our temperature differences, early morning in winter and early morning in summer are quite varied. But on the whole, it's fairly small. So Paul, the animals, they've been here for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, and they've just naturally adapted to the environment. You know, their coats are quite short, so they don't get too hot during the summers, but they're just long enough to keep them warm in the winters. You'll see, Paul, as you go through school and you do biology and all of that sort of thing, you'll learn a bit about it, but it's adaptation. These animals have adapted over hundreds of years to be able to live out here. It is actually very fascinating. So yeah, Paul, to answer your question, lots and lots and lots of time spent out here getting the right combination of hair, fur, thickness, length, that sort of thing. But as we continue to bumble towards one of our waterholes, we are going to send you across to the semi-arid savanna of Tswalu Kalahari.
Those of you who were with us earlier, remember I was just talking about that the little mistletoe that we had right next to the vehicle and how it grows and I called it matchsticks is the other common name. So super lucky. 200 yards down the road we actually found one that's still got flowers on. This is super late in the season for them, so, and even these flowers, dare I say it, they're looking a little bit haggard, I think is the word we're looking for. And but there you can see where the name comes from. They look like I don't know what matchsticks anyone uses, but yeah, use your imagination. They look like matchsticks, but that's what the flowers look like. And these ones have actually past their prime. They've lost a lot of petals already on either side, so I think the sunbirds have really been tucking into these ones. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity. It's not the greatest example of the flowers, but at least you can see what they look like. And there's something else, if I can actually get in there. Okay, no, I thought it might be a seed that was starting to germinate, but it's not. I thought I was wrong, but I was wrong. We're going to carry on looking for those cheetah, and yeah, any other cool things out here, and there's lots of cool things out here. Glorious afternoon. So Sean, driving in thick sand, as many people would know, if you've actually experienced it, can be quite challenging. At this time of the year, the sand is very cold, and it actually makes it easier to drive on. Also, we've got flat areas where we're driving now, and then we go over these dunes. Now, obviously, the dunes are more challenging to drive on. Whereas these flat areas are a lot easier. We do not ever drive over dunes except on a road where the road crosses, because those dunes, if you damage them, using vehicles and that, it can take a long time to recover, and literally that can be decades sometimes to recover. And if you're not sure how to drive on thick sand, you can do a huge amount of environmental damage if you're not sensitive about it. There's obviously, apart from the skill of the driver, and I'm not saying I'm skilled, I'm just used to driving these vehicles, but is being able to use a vehicle that's capable of driving on sand. And these Land Rovers, they're good vehicles. No, they're good vehicles, and we haven't had problems on sand with these vehicles. So yeah, as long as you know how to use the tools, I suppose, is the moral of the story, then yeah, you should be fine. But you can see, this sand is nice and level, it's flat, there's not a lot of bumps or anything on it, so we're okay. I've been waiting for that question. I've been waiting for that question the past couple of days, and if you can bear with me a little bit longer, I'm going to actually grab a handful, and Yandra's going to zoom in on it. I'll try to stand in the sunlight so you can all see it. All right, so just give me 1 sec. I'm going to get a nice handful of it. Okay. I'll stand there. There, you got it. Okay. Now, so this sand, you see how easily it's running through my fingers, and I've got my fingers closed. Okay. The reason it's doing that is every single sand granule inside this pile of sand that I'm holding here is actually well rounded. So the edges are very, very round. And that means it's actually quite difficult to hold it tight and that it doesn't run. If each of these sand grains had sharp edges, it would be quite easy to hold it without it falling out your hand. And if you go down to a beach, you're going to find the same thing. The sand grains are all round or mostly round, but that is from water. Okay, these sand grains have been rounded off over millions of years through wind. Okay. And you can actually see as we're standing here, look how that wind's blowing it. So every time the wind blows, these little sand grains move up and down with one another. And yeah, sure, look at that. So the if you really want to get technical, the term is aeolian sand. Aeolian means windblown. So this is windblown sand. And the red color, this beautiful red color, comes from it's got a very high iron content. And as it comes in contact with air, that iron starts rusting in the sand, and that's results in this lovely color that we can see. In terms of how much sand is here, well, that's a different ball game altogether. There's places in the area here where the sand can actually get to 300 feet in depth. That's 100 meters, like straight down. And then there's also areas where it's quite shallow, so it varies a lot. But just think how much sand is out here. I mean, it's just massive quantities of it, and everything here survives on the sand. Doesn't have a high nutrient value, but it's good. Every organism out here, animals, plants, birds, are dependent on the sand. Okay, yes, we're going to look at those hills there and say, well, if you exclude the hills, which you can see Andre's looking at now, but even there's sand in patches up in those hills. But everything down on these flatlands, everything relies on the sand to some extent or another. Even if you think about it, even a bird that's nesting in a tree, well, that tree is anchored on the sand, and it's getting its nutrients there, it's getting its water there, and if that tree wasn't there, well, then the bird wouldn't be able to nest there. So ultimately, your substrate, and at Tswalu it's mostly sand, every animal's dependent on that, every plant's dependent on that, every insect that occurs here is dependent on that. So it just shows how vitally important it is. The sand comes with challenges, big challenges. If you think, I was holding this pile of sand now and you just saw how the wind was blowing it. Now imagine if you are a tiny seed, you're a little seed, and you're now trying to get your roots down, trying to find a place where you can start growing. And all that's happening the whole time is the wind's just blowing you away. That becomes quite challenging. So, I think there's a nice structure to these environments where it's not windy the whole time. We've had a couple of days of wind. The other thing with sand is water. If you pour water on the sand, it just drains through it very, very easily. So it doesn't retain water very easily. So most of the plants here have got to be very well adapted to being able to conserve, firstly, absorbing water. And a lot of them have got either very deep roots that can reach permanent bodies of water, or they've got these massive root systems to be able to try get their fingers into as many little pockets of water as possible, gather it up. And then above ground, remember we were looking at the blackthorn acacia with a mistletoe on it earlier? Tiny leaves to reduce evaporation. And if you've got a small surface area here, you've got less evaporation, or evapotranspiration should we say, and that helps you conserve water. And that's very, very typical of these deep sandy areas over here. So cool. So many interesting things about the geology, plant life. It's brilliant. No, I thought I saw something different inside there, but it wasn't. So we're going to carry on and head over to David in the meantime and see how they're doing on their side.
We're doing good. We're enjoying this afternoon. Just slowly making our way down to the dam. Keeping an eye out for any tracks that cross to try and see which way this leopard went. Pretty sure it was a leopard that left those drag marks. I think it might have gone down to the dam to have a drink of water after having a bit of a feed. Interesting, here's the same drag mark one road down. So it actually drug it quite a long ways. Must have made the kill down in the valley here. And then drug all the way. It's quite a long ways. Amazing how powerful leopard are to be able to drag an animal that far. I know there are a couple lovely female leopard here on the Chitwa property. Sabi and Kuchava. Maybe it could be one of them. Maybe we get lucky later and get a glimpse. Like I say, we're just going to give it some time before we go back to that carcass. How do I know which way the drag has been? Sorry about that, Green. My get to Dylan Waller, season 2, and we'll be back with me shortly.
If you even want to zoom from there, all new to me. So we had a great question earlier about the Yandre and what he does in between drives. So this is completely off the game drive topic, but to put it in perspective over here, there's a mountain in the far distance. It's like a conical hilltop. And I don't know if you can actually see the, yeah, so that highest point in the image there now, that's where one set of the signals are coming from. So whenever we talk, it goes from us to there, back to us, back to the control room. I mean, it's just insane how this is all set up. So I just wanted to point that out to you in terms of landscapes and that. And then the other tower is on that long flat top mountain in the furthest distance. So from where we're standing, that is about 20 kilometers in a straight line. So just show, I mean, to bring this to you, and it's just so amazing having you being able to participate in this. And that's thanks to guys like Jandre, the whole team operating on this, all the tech guys, all the directors. It's a big thing. But anyway, let's head over to David, and we're just gonna bumble down here and see what else we can winkle out for you.
Just come down to the Chitwa Dam to see what's out and about. As always, there'll be activity down by the water. Karine, you asked a question before we cut out there. How do we know which way the drag mark? And it's actually something that's not easy to figure out if you can't see any footprints. What I do is I get down low and I just kind of stare at the ground and see which way twigs and sticks and rocks have moved. You can actually see the indentations left in the ground by the animal's body as it was dragged over the sand. And often for me the giveaway is when a piece of grass is pushed down into the sand and then it leaves that indentation and it lifts up again, or a twig. That kind of shows you which way the animal pushed that piece of grass. And then of course if you get footprints for the animal, that also helps. It's beautiful in Yala. But sometimes it throws you off because the footprints can either be walking forwards with the animal in the mouth, or they could be walking backwards as the animal drags. So there are a couple of little tricks. But always a way to tell. How beautiful are these Nyala bulls in the sun. Feeding happily in this field here next to the dam. We've had some lovely Nyala sightings this week. Oh, such beautiful animals. Look at that hair on the crest of its back and under its belly. How it glistens in the sunlight. I love when they are challenging each other and they try and show dominance. They almost try and puff themselves up a bit and those hairs stand up. Looks very cool. Flasky saying these Nyala bulls have got their socks on. They do today. They're long socks, knee socks. There's one in the front here. I wonder if it's going to go down and drink some water. Looks like it's making its way. Always stop, have a pause, check it out. See if you can see any crocodiles or something it doesn't like. And never just rush right into a drink. Always wary of the water. That one seems to not be too happy with that spot to drink. It's going to maybe walk down a bit. Dylan, you've asked what sound do Nyala make? And they hardly make any sounds when you're around them. Very rare to actually hear them, but when they do alarm, they have a bit of a, kind of describe it as a bark. I'm not going to try and replicate it. Not the most vocal of antelope. That's interesting that Nyala walked down to drink, very specifically in a line to the water. It stood there, wasn't comfortable, and turned around and walked away. I wonder if it suspected a crocodile. Miss Anna, you've asked about these Nyala bulls' coats and if they get hot. They do have a lot of hair, don't they? But that long hair you're seeing is only really along the crest under their bellies. It's not as long on the sides. And like you'll see, the antelope species out here do have hair as well. I think they do just fine, made for this environment. The shagginess you're talking about is what I was saying a bit earlier. They utilize it, these bulls, when they display dominance. They can do a bit of piloerection is the word. They can let that hair stand up straight and all brisky and stuff, kind of like a dog that has the hair on the back stand up when it's aggressive or very interested in something. So I assume that shagginess is for that reason, as well as just being beautiful and perhaps helping with a bit of camouflage. And Nyala did not like those oxpeckers at all. As they landed on his back, he immediately chased them away. They will help him with his ticks and parasites, but I can imagine it's not very comfortable, especially when they get pecking at a wound. These oxpeckers are actually not so much after the parasite, but actually after the blood. And if you find an animal with a wound, the oxpeckers often keep pecking at it to cause it to bleed, which is not the most comfortable. Maybe the Nyala's got a sore on it that the oxpeckers keep agitating. Anushka, you asked what is the purpose of the white markings across their nose? Oh, that's an interesting question, and I can't tell you with certainty what the point or the purpose is of it, other than it's just the way they are, and it really does look stunning. It makes them just look almost got so much more facial expression. I suppose you could say it would help with camouflage, kind of blends in with the other white markings that they get along their bodies. Some books hypothesize that it helps with their facial expression. I've even read a book that says waterbuck, which are on the other side there. We'll maybe have a look at them just now when we stop. Have those facial expressions, and the markings help to increase their emotion and the emotion that they display. It's all hypotheses at the end of the day, Anushka. We can't really say for sure. But I'll just go with it helps their camouflage, and it really looks beautiful. Get another nice look at these Inyala in the open. Striped horse, you've asked to, Inyala have to drink water every day. They do when there's water available. I'm sure they could go longer than a day without water. But whenever I've spent time with Inyala, they're generally in the vicinity of areas that have water. So they are water dependent. They will get a lot of moisture from the plants that they eat. Some animals hardly even have to drink water. They get so much moisture from the plants that they eat, like steenbok. They'll get moisture out of the leaves and the bulbs and tubers. Even giraffe get a lot of moisture out of their browsing, which assists with their water intake. We are very chilled here next to the dam. It's absolutely lovely. Somewhere else in South Africa, it sounds like things are sped up a notch. Let's go over to Tswalu and see what they're up to.
So the trackers that are on the trail of these cheetah seem to have some fresher tracks now. It's still a long way away from where we are, but we're going to head out there, and obviously we're just keeping our eyes open for any other things that we might see along the way. But it would be quite fun if we can get there and they're still relaxing. That's if the guys actually even physically find them. You know, they've got really good tracks now, but it's just a matter of actually trying to pinpoint the animals. So bear with us. Temperatures creeping downwards again. Another tough day in Africa. It's always exciting following up on animals though. You know, it's one thing if you go out and you know, the cheetah's there, the aardvark's there, the buffalo's there, the lion's there. But when you go out and you're starting with a clean slate, and especially after the wind that's been blowing here, you know, to find a particular set of tracks that you're after can be very, very challenging. And it's also testament to the skill of these trackers being able to pick them up like that. All these drives are team effort, so you don't go on a game drive anywhere in the world where it's a one-man show. Sash, we can go off-road here, but we are very, very careful about how we do it and where we do it and what species we do it for. You know, we've gone through previously, and we'll go through that again, about how sensitive environments are, and not just Tswalu, but any environment, and one should always be aware of that before driving off-road. I just want to show you a little bird on the right-hand side called a crowned lapwing. Crowned lapwing. They used to be called crowned plovers, but they changed the name a couple of years back. These birds are synonymous with these open areas throughout southern Africa. If you get a nice level open area, and even with less cover than what you're seeing here, you'll get these birds nesting. I cannot tell the difference between male and female. They look identical. And I don't see any young birds around. There's another species that occurs here called a blacksmith lapwing, and they normally nest near water. Now a lot of them have actually got large chicks, ones that have fledged already, but they're still hanging around the parents. Whereas this pair of crowned lapwings, I don't even see young birds around. Perhaps they didn't even nest over here. It may be that they nested somewhere else and they've just moved in here for feeding. Because the nest is actually just it's literally a scrape on the ground. It's a little depression on the ground, and they lay these super well camouflaged eggs. They're beautiful brown eggs with black and brown patterns on them. Very, very, very well camouflaged. Many children growing up in South Africa will remember on sports fields, whether it's a soccer field, a cricket field, rugby field, you get these birds nesting on the sports fields. And then typically what someone will go do, they'll put some stones or bricks around the nesting site, and then everyone will you'll play the game around it. They're quite fun like it. And they're very tolerant of people, these birds. They're primarily insectivores, so they're actually trotting around now looking for any little insects that they can gobble up. Cool, eh? There's another bird further to the right that for a moment I thought was a chick of one of them, but it's actually not. It's a dove. So that dove will be eating seeds, not insects. They do occasionally eat insects as well. We get these harvested termites that come out. Doves will eat those as well, but they're mostly seed eaters. I think we're gonna carry on. And Peter, I wish there were breeding marshal eagles on Tswalu at the moment. We see marshal eagles on a regular basis. I mean, but again, as a large raptor, in these environments, they cover massive, massive areas. But we've had them nesting on Tswalu a number of times, but they can actually use different nesting sites. So it's not necessarily the same nest that they'll use every single year. And there's other things, something might have happened. There could have been disturbance, could have been a troop of baboons. It could be that the tree was hit by lightning and sort of lost all its foliage and become too exposed for them. There's a lot of reasons why they might change a nesting site. But I'm always on the lookout. And when I say that we don't have them nesting here, it's actually more correct for me to say that we're not aware of any pairs currently nesting. it's such a vast area. The blocks here are so big. There's a lot of areas that, as guiding teams, we don't get deep into those areas. So it could be that there are ones nesting, we just haven't seen or located those nests yet. But they're one of my favorite raptors. I absolutely love martial eagles. They are just... Well, let's head down, see how those trackers are doing on those tracks. They called in, like I said earlier, that they got some really fresh tracks, so let's hold thumbs.
Well, good luck with the tracks. Hopefully you'll get right. As you can see, we are gazing upon a beautiful, beautiful setting on Simambili at the moment. There's this cloud and the sun is just starting to come behind it and settle down. And also in this picture is a leopard. But for those of you, this is a test to see if any of you can spot the leopard in this picture. It gives you an idea of just how difficult it is at the moment. The leopard, I will tell you, is probably 10 meters from where I am, so you can see the edge of the road in the corner of the frame there, about 10 meters from the edge of the road. See if any of you can spot it in that particular picture. I probably think that most of you won't, and I'll reveal to you where he is right now. So it is Hukumuri. It took us a while to find him, but I'll show you. He's lying not even 2 meters off the road, right here. So you might just be able to see his spots in the little gap there, and that gives you an idea of the camouflage of a leopard even when he's got his tummy exposed. So very, very, very difficult to see these guys in long grass like this. You would think in an open clearing it would have been super easy to spot him, but like I said, it took us a while to see him just because he didn't even put up his head when we came past these impalas that have been shouting and still didn't put up his head. So it gives you an idea of how full and fat and lazy he is feeling right now. But so nice to see the rosetted coat of a cat again. Saw the kill is still in the tree at the moment. Doesn't look like very much is left at all. So I don't think he'll be here past this afternoon, but really, really, really nice to see. We've been struggling a little bit with signal, so I'm also pretty amped that we actually have signal where we are. So it's good. Happy days, Alex. Stoked, exactly. Very much so. It's been a long time coming to be able to have a leopard on the show for us at Juma. Well, it's nice that Simambili's actually provided its first leopard this morning in the form of the hook. And like I say, I mean, I think he'll just be fairly stationary for now. I don't think we're going to see him moving too much. What I'm hoping he's going to do, though, is eventually get up and move and go and maybe lie on a termite mound or something kind of closer towards his kill. You can see his kind of kill is to the right behind that bush there. So it's in that marula behind that bush. It's difficult to make out the kill because this bush will be in the way. But if you look at the fork of the tree, you'll just see a little bit of meat kind of draped over that fork. It's not much at all. It looks like maybe a few mouthfuls, and I suspect that he'll swallow that up just now. So I'll just have to be patient and wait. Eventually he'll get there. It's cooling down quite nicely now, and I was hoping that he was going to go towards the tree and up into it, especially with the sunset. It was going to be that kind of time of day where it's going to be beautiful from up here if he goes in the tree. The good news, though, is that clearly David this morning broke our little curse because he has found himself another spotted cat this afternoon.
The drought is broken. Our patience paid off. Let's have a look. So just about half an hour ago that impala was on the ground. I decided to just do a little bit of a loop to the dam. Let the leopard settle down because I'm pretty sure it was there when I walked in. And didn't want to scare her unnecessarily, so I just did a little bit of a loop and came back now. She's taken it up the tree and having a feed. very happy that we found that drag mark and were able to locate this beautiful leopard. I do not know this leopard, perhaps some of the viewers can help me. We are on the Chitwa property. I know a couple of the leopard around here, but let's see once you get a good view of her face. Perhaps you can help me. Miss Anamanris, you say you think it's Kuchava. Oh, there's the cub. I was waiting for that. I thought I saw a cub in that tree. So it is Kuchava and the cub. That's what BK thought. Lovely. As we pull in, I thought I saw something on the left of the tree, but it was hidden by the branches. Look who it is. How fantastic. Kuchava and her cub. Penelope says raining leopard. Well, I can assure you we are very thankful for that. It's been a long dry spell. Just gonna slightly move the vehicle to get a better view. I believe James has unofficially named the cub. I didn't quite catch that though, FC. What was that name he gave? Not Ned. Is that what James called it? Striped horse, you've asked why can a leopard climb trees but not leopard or lion? Sorry, not cheetah or lion. Well, the reason for that is quite simple. Leopard are solitary and they cannot defend a kill on the ground. So when they kill something, there's always lots of other predators around, specifically hyena, that are hot on their trail. And if they were never able to climb a tree, with their carcass, and they would always battle to be able to eat, because something else would often come and steal it from them. And because they're solitary, they can't afford injuries, although they are very strong cats and will give a solitary hyena a beating. Sorry, my tongue got twisted there. Even Hukamuri would give a hyena a very good beating. Leopard don't really want to risk a fight, because if they injure their paw, then they're kind of done for. They don't have a pride to look after them. Whereas lion and cheetah, lion obviously in prides, and cheetah have their coalitions. So they have help from one another, and even solitary cheetah are more situated in the savannas, where their speed is their strength. Open areas where they can see well, so not so necessary for them to climb a tree. Although both species, lion and cheetah, do and often have been seen climbing trees, they're just not nearly as graceful as a leopard, and will not take their kill up a tree. Well, it sounds like something's developing with Hukamuri, so let's send you over to Tristan and see what's happening.
Well, he's moved a little bit very kindly, because he got interrupted by a hyena. One of the EP clan arrived and is sniffing about, and so he popped his head up and came out of the grass a little bit for us, which is most welcome. We really, really do want to see his face. And I was just saying to Alex now, it is so nice to be back in the company of a leopard. I have missed it more than most people can imagine. It's a difficult thing to explain. Maybe some of you have a fascination with a certain animal and have been fortunate enough to spend huge amounts of time with them. And that's kind of the case for me and leopards, is that I have been incredibly fortunate over the course of many years spent in probably one of the finest leopard viewing reserves in the world. And when you don't have it for a while, you certainly get to this point where it almost becomes a little bit desperate. And so to sit here and just see that coat again, and to kind of be around them, and especially in a setting like we're in at the moment, it is absolutely beautiful. We have the setting sun, we have clouds, the wind has dropped, there's a hyena in the distance. He's sitting nicely now out in the open yawning, which is a good sign. It hopefully means he's going to go up towards his tree and maybe go up it. It's just the perfect way to have kind of broken the drought. I am super happy, to be honest with you, and it's Ivy, most definitely. The drought is most certainly over. Thanks to David in the most. I mean, I've done very little other than, respond to a sighting that he managed to get this morning with the Simbambili guys. And I mean, he's managed to find Kachava and Cub this afternoon too. So I think he deserves a little bit of the credit for all of this. But still, it's really, really nice to see them. Like I say, hopefully he's going to go up into the tree, because we still have a beautiful sunset. And so while we sit with him and wait, let's hop you off across to Tswalu Kalahari and see what they're up to.
That's actually cool. Can you see him? Can you guys see him there? That is beautiful. It's a little black-backed jackal. Black-backed jackal. Same species as the ones that were feeding on that kudu carcass yesterday. But this is very far away from that. That's about 15 kilometers, 10 kilometers south from where we currently are. So this would be a completely different animal, individual rather. And where we positioned, where the vehicle is positioned, the wind is coming from behind us, and that's why that jackal is now lying on the other side of that bush. So he's sheltering from this cold wind. Sunset's not too far away, probably another hour or so. So this is kind of the time of day when these little guys are getting out of bed, getting ready for the night, becoming more alert. Beautiful area for cheetah to hunt in. I'm glad you said that, Chris. So many people don't like jackals and coyotes and things like that, but they are just absolutely amazing animals on so many levels, and not just because they're beautiful to look at, but you know, their behavior and habits and how adaptable they are. Very, very special animals. So it's really encouraging to hear you say that, Chris, that it's one of your favorite animals. And clever, eh? Wow, they are super, super sharp little animals, these. I always enjoy sitting at a kill. If you've got a lion kill, or you know, and you get these lions are sitting feeding, and your jackals darting in and out, but we're going to carry on ambling on. Let this jackal just chill out for the rest of the afternoon, and we're going to take you over to David with his sighting on that side. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I've just slightly moved position here to get a different look. These leopard seem to be favoring this Cambritum, which is far smaller branches than the Marula. Don't ask me why, that does not look nearly as comfortable. What a beautiful shot. Look at that little foot as it's flayed out on that branch. Perfect little pads. Is that not just so adorable? Have a look at Mom to the left there. She tries to get comfortable. I don't know why she's chosen that little skinny branch, but looks like she's decided to go back to the Marula. Lisa, you're encouraging the little one to hold on. Seems to be doing a pretty good job. Got itself wedged in a fork there. Doesn't look like it's going anywhere. If anyone looks precarious, it's Mom at the moment. Carmela, you've asked how long does a cub stay with Mom? Look at that little belly. It's had a little feed. Carmela, they stay with their mothers into around the first and second year. Oop, don't fall. And female cubs will generally maintain ties for longer than that, often developing a little territory inside their mothers, whereas male cubs often leave their mothers a bit sooner, as when they start getting a bit older, they stand a risk of being killed, or at the very least chased out by the dominant resident male. But Camel, I'd say in my experience, around 15 months to 2 years. But I've also seen older cubs with their mothers, seen younger cubs on their own. Sometimes it's hard to tell. this just not so awesome? I feel a little bit sorry for it because it really does not seem to be getting comfortable, but lovely to watch the movement and the interaction. And I'm sure each and every one of you, wherever you are in the world, are enjoying getting to spend time with Kuchava and her cub in our little part of Africa. As always, we appreciate your support. Please have a look at that link at the bottom of the screen. Well, from one fantastic leopard sighting to another, let's go over to Tristan and see what Hukumuri is up to. Oh, just jumped down the tree there. That is very cool. Stick with us a little bit longer here as we watch this little one. I always love watching them mount and dismount trees. Such graceful, elegant cats. Oh, there's a hyena right ahead of us, BK. You'll barely see it in the grass. Yeah, it's hard to see. I'm just going to explain to BK while he has a look here. If you follow straight over me, on the right of... just zoom out a bit. There. Yeah, and down. There it is at the back. Not a great visual, but there it is. Just been lying there the whole time, we didn't even see it. And if we go back to the leopard cub now, you can see that it's heard something. It knows that our hyena's there, but it doesn't seem terribly concerned. I was having a look in that direction. I just heard some grass rustling that our hyena had been lying there all along. Well, we are not going anywhere. We're enjoying this beautiful sighting. While we do that, let's send you back over to Tristan now with Hukumuri.
are still with Hukumuri. He's been up and down and up and down. But yeah, anyway, he's now sleeping, and at the moment we have probably the most incredible view that one could ever ask for. We've got him sleeping in the grass right next to us, and that sunset that is in the distance, it is seriously pretty. This open clearing and their sunsets are some of the best that you'll get in this northern Sabi Sand sector. It sets straight over the Drakensbergs there, and especially with a bit of cloud like we've got tonight, the color is just out of this world. So to have leopard sunset is pretty special, that's for sure. We are spoilt in this regard. Like I say, to see the two of them together like that is really nice. Our hyena's also somewhere around milling about. It was kind of sniffing and scratching and doing its thing and looking up at that kill longingly, and Hukumuri was watching him for a while and then just kind of flopped back down. I was not interested too much, but like I say, it's not so much what the leopard is doing at the moment or what the hyena is doing. It's just the general scene, sitting here in the quiet and listening to the last sounds of the day and watching this whole scene is what makes this special. There is just something absolutely beautiful about this entire area. Linda, you say gorgeous as usual. It is incredibly pretty, and the nice thing about this sunset is that there's a gap between the layer of clouds and the mountains, and that's creating that nice little orange glow that you see there, and then it's reflecting all the way up onto the clouds. So the clouds are getting these orange and yellows and kind of color that is stretching up through the stratosphere. It is incredibly pretty. And like I say, you had a kind of a leopard in that as well. When he was standing up just now and we had this view with him standing, it was pretty special. So hopefully he'll get up again. I was hoping he was going to go into the tree. He's popped his head up now. What did you hear? Look, did you hear something? He kind of popped his head up like he had heard something that he didn't like, but maybe it's just that hyena is moving back again. I don't see it. Anyway, he's got his head up now, which is really very cool. He's looking super good. He's clearly spending a lot of time on this side of the world. I mean, we've seen tracks around Tswalu Dam a lot for a male leopard, which I'm 99% sure is him. And so he seems to be doing a lot of patrolling along this area. It's quite common to see this Firebreak and Tswalu Dam, and kind of that whole area has always been a popular place for male leopards. Tingana used to roam that area a lot. Anderson, in fact, where we're sitting now is where Anderson used to used to come to quite regularly. And they all like those kind of areas in order to patrol. It's because the fence line is not too far away, and so it's the kind of northernmost point to be able to... I can hear an impala alarm calling. I wonder if that's not what woke him up. Maybe it's the rut that's causing him. You see, he's just turning around and facing in the direction of that call. You'll find male leopards will do, or any leopard really, they'll listen to an alarm call and they'll immediately face in that direction, because if the alarm call becomes intense, sometimes that can mean a kill, and they'll then trot off in that direction, potentially could steal it. So, there we go, it's impala again. I don't think it can see him though. My problem is my signal is so bad here that if I move, I'm going to have a problem. Sassy Kathy, they do. If you shave them, you can still actually get rosettes. Should we risk it and go and see what this impala is snorting at? I think so. Could be Tiani, Nzutini, Kara, Shadulu. We're on the border of all of them. He doesn't seem too fazed by it. He's popping his head back down, so I think I'm going to go and have a little look at what that impala... Yeah, but I'll apologize if we lose signal. We might just. So if we do, I do, like I say, apologize a little bit. It seems so finicky here. Alright, so I'm going to try risk it, see if we can well and truly break this drought with another cat. And while we do that, let's send you back across to David with the other two.
Oh, we've just watched this cub climb this termite mound BK and I having a chuckle. Clearly wants to be in view, king of the world. It's far from its mother. It's a good 60 yards from its mother. Not phased at all. It's not worried about the hyena, not worried about anything. I like this little cub, it's got attitude. Ashley, you've asked how old are leopard cubs and they learn to climb trees. I reckon pretty young. I'm trying to think now, the youngest cub I've ever seen climbing a tree. Their mothers only take them hunting around 8-9 months old. But they start getting meat in their first couple months of life to supplement the milk. So I would say, Ashley, I'm just thinking logically about that because I honestly can't remember seeing specific cubs that were a certain age climbing trees. But I would say in their first couple months of life, they are strong enough to climb a tree. It's obviously going to be very, in the beginning, very comical to watch. Baby steps. But they grow quickly. Oh, look, the hyena's walking up to the termite mound. And that's what that leopard, you can't see it now, it's just gone around the back, but that's what that leopard cub is staring at. It's very sure of itself. There's the hyena on the bottom right, BK. Just skulking past. Hyena's going to be patiently waiting for a scrap of meat. While this cub feels like king of the world, it probably enjoys spying on the hyena that didn't even know it was there. Well, from rosettes to spots, let's go over to Tswalu Kalahari, see the mighty cheetah.
So after a spectacular tracking session, and to give you some idea, these two trackers followed the spoor of these two cheetah males for about 20 kilometers in total. I mean, it's not 20 kilometers in a straight line. Straight line distance probably from where they originally picked up the tracks to where they located them now. You're looking at about 8 kilometers, but in terms of going up and down and around on their tracks, about 20 kilometers. And it's taken them, they located the tracks at about 1 o'clock, 1:30 today, and they found them 10-15 minutes ago. So that is spectacular tracking, and also just gives you a really idea of the scale of the place. So these are 2 cheetah males. They're about, say, 7 to 8 years old now. And what we're going to... They are fantastic, Chris? Beautiful, beautiful animals. And what we'll do is, I don't like approaching the animals too closely to begin with. It's always good to let animals get used to the presence of the vehicle, and then also gives us an opportunity to see their behavior. You know, are they relaxed? And we can see clearly they are relaxed now. And then we can reposition again in a couple of minutes. But they very, very relaxed, and that classic cheetah posture, lying on their side with just their head up. He's watching us now. It's good temperature for them to hunt in. It's cool, but they can go hunt now. G5, semi-retractable claws. So there's a number of advantages for a cheetah, and there's other things that have got that as well. If we talk about retractile, and I do it all the time as well. You sort of talk anecdotally about how cats can retract their claws. Technically, actually what happens is when they're at rest, in other words, they're not consciously doing it, the claws are automatically retracted. It's only when they need them that they put their claws out. So if they want to climb a tree, like the leopards that we're viewing at the other side now, or catching a mouse, or grabbing a bird out of the sky, or hooking a fish out of water, then they'll actually put their claws out. So if we wanted to be really correct about it, we'd say the claws are protractile. With cheetah, their claws stay out all the time. So they're not even semi-protractile. They stay out all the time. However, that is a super, super, super important aid for them to be able to run, because they don't want to be chasing an animal at high speed. And, you know, these are super fast cats. You know, we know they're the fastest in the world in terms of predators. So they don't want to be chasing an animal at high speed across this terrain, consciously thinking, okay, I must keep my claws out, I must keep my claws out, I must keep my claws out. I don't think that's going to work. But what they do is they've got protractile claws. They dew claw higher up the leg, and that's actually when they catch an animal. You'll see frequently a cheetah leaps up onto the back of a prey animal and then tries to hook it down, and that's when they use those dew claws to hook into the prey and pull it down so they can get a stranglehold. Jandre and I, we're just going to reposition you a little bit, but I think head back over to Tristan and the sighting on that side while we get a better angle on these boys.
That's what happens with Hukumuri, is he's just gotten up right now and decided that's where he's going to lie. Not to the left, not to the right, not in front, behind. Be behind. Look. Why, boy? Why behind us? First you took a poo next to us, and then you lay behind us. Okay, I get it. But now is beautiful because he's now lying perfectly in the open for us with his big fat tummy and his beautiful golden coat. I must say, he is quite a dark-colored leopard. I often find taking photos of him quite tricky. When I get them onto a computer, I always think to myself, my white balance is out, because he has quite an orange-gold sort of color actually, orange is probably a better way to put it, particularly between his ears. He often comes out in photographs quite orange. It's almost like a little kind of section between his ears and his shoulders that's got this really sort of hot orange area. So I sometimes think to myself, I've got the colors all wrong on this, but it's pretty accurate. You can see now, it's quite clear to be able to see it. Now, I don't understand what he's doing, because he keeps getting up and walking a meter and then flopping back down again. Leopards are not like that normally. Normally when a leopard yawns and wakes up, it walks to where it wants to go and does what it wants to do, and then falls asleep and stays in that position. Lions are the ones that often yawn, get up, walk a meter, flop back down. These guys generally pretty good about just staying in the same sort of area, and when they do decide to move, they actually do it. But isn't that just beautiful? There's his tongue as well. Maria, you're saying he's mad that I left. He missed me. Well, I mean, it's not that I left out of will. I would have liked to have stayed, but I suppose I have to be nice to them and tell them I'm sorry that we weren't around. Not that he spent much time on Juma. It's now that we're at Simambili, we're going to get so many more sightings of this guy. He's, spends a lot of time in this area. As we know, we've seen how many times we've followed him into Simambili. So now that he's here, we've just expanded his territory out, or the sections that we can cover. It's still not the entire area. He covers a really large amount of land, all the way down towards kind of Londolozi and Ottawa. And so, this is just a small section of it, but it gives us another piece of his little puzzle and allows us probably more frequent views of him, which is really nice. What I'm intrigued about is I want to see now what's going to happen over the course of the next few months in seeing what his movements are and how they change. We're seeing Mulawati a lot on Juma. This other unknown male leopard was on Juma the other night in an area where Hukumuri likes to walk around, and generally we see him. And so if you've got, it's not a young male, I mean another male leopard. But these two males maybe are the ones that are kind of putting so much pressure on Kalamba and Tundi and Tingana, and that's why they're not being seen as much, and could also be why they're pushing Hukumuri more to the west. It could also be the ones that are pushing Shadulu and the likes also further west. So those two boys being on Juma is not great for us at the moment. It's going to cause quite a few issues. The females are going to be fairly nervous of them. They obviously don't know these males. And if they haven't mated with them yet, and we know that most of the females have cubs bar Kalamba, they're going to be hesitant of new male leopards, of course, because their cubs obviously are in danger. And so for our leopard dynamic, what we need is almost those boys either to come in and take over quickly and push the other males out and kill the cubs and settle down, which I know sounds terrible, but is the reality of the situation. And the females start to mate with them and start to feel comfortable with them patrolling in the same territory as they are, and we start to get a bit more of a balanced system. Or what we need is them to be pushed out by the likes of Hukumuri or Tingana. Now, Tingana is an old boy now. As much as I hate to say it, I'm always a Tingana fan, but unfortunately he is getting old, and that means that the likelihood of him actually being the one to push these two younger males away is probably very, very slim. The responsibility would have fallen, especially on the western side, to Hukumuri. But judging by the size of him and judging by the size of, the Mulawati and this other male, it's very, very, it's going to be a very interesting contest, because they're all similar sizes. In fact, I think Mulawati is probably quite a lot bigger than he is. Kathy in Ohio, you say that orange reminds you of the tiger colorations. It's a little bit similar. Tigers, I find it's more like a hot orange. This is almost a burnt orange. I'm not a very good person at describing colors. My mother and my brother would probably slap me upside the head. Both of them are graphic designers and deal a lot with color. But that's how I would describe it, is the tigers are more hot orange and these guys are more kind of burnt orange. It also reminds me that it's my mother's birthday today. So, Momsy, if you're watching, happy birthday. Hope that you're having a nice day. I did speak to her on the phone earlier. She did say she was having a nice day. And so that's a good thing. But yeah, I find the tigers are a little bit more kind of brighter in their coloration. Tigers are possibly one of the most beautiful cats out there from a striking point of view. Just when you see a tiger in the wild and you see that animal moving, it is absolutely unbelievable to see those markings and that coloration. I find them to be the most insane creatures in that regard. They are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it's well worth the visit. I actually can't wait to go. I was planning on going in February, March next year. But unfortunately, at the rate at the moment, life is a bit tricky, and so hopefully I'll still be able to put that trip together and be able to head out there with guests. It'll be really, really nice to be back in the land of tigers. It's a really, really incredible thing to see a cat of that size walking around, and they are massive, 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 and have a huge amount of attitude to them. They actually remind me a little bit of Hukamuri as well. It's kind of the same brawny kind of attitude that they have. Hook, you coming to say hello? Oh, he looks seriously good at the moment. Off he goes. All right, we're going to watch him. I think he's going to go to the tree. I'm not sure if he's sitting behind you. No. Okay, we'll see. We'll follow him now and see if he goes up to the tree. In the meantime, let's send you back across to David.
This, a leopard cub on top of a termite mound with the setting sun behind it. Mom is still up in her uncomfortable tree, jostling around every now and then. She just made a little jump. But we are sticking here with this cub, just posing for us so nicely. Here comes Mr. Hyena. Well, let's quickly send you over to Hook. Apparently he's busy to do something.
Well, just in time. Here he goes. There we go. Well done, boy. Look at that sunset in the background. Isn't this super cool? Now listen to his claws as he goes up the tree. Wasn't that cool? It was a bit more effort than a leopard normally takes, but the boys are a little bit heavier, and so they're not as, what would the word say, as delicate when they climb a tree, or have as much finesse as the ladies. The ladies are always amaze me when they climb trees. They just kind of like bounce from branch to branch, and whoop, up they go very, very quickly. These guys are a little bit different. Now, we left it in color because of the fact that we had that beautiful sunset behind, but I think it's getting a little bit dark now, so we're going to have to start to think about switching into infrared. Otherwise, we're not going to really see too much detail on him. So, Alex, if you would like to, you are welcome to do so now. I wonder where that hyena's gone. Now, Alex, is the IR not even on the camera? No. Oh, no, then don't worry. I thought the IR wasn't on the camera. Sorry, my fault completely. Landeka, it's my fault. He's hasn't set it up. No, okay. We can't go to infrared. It's like I say, it's my fault at this stage, but at least we can get a beautiful silhouette against that sunset. At the moment, we've got at least a kind of silhouetted view of him against this beautiful sort of backdrop of the sunset. Now he's going to finish up this kill. This kill will last him probably all of about 5 minutes, I would imagine, to fill up. It's just the neck and the head that he's going to eat, and that's it. And that's very, very quick when it comes to male leopards. They're able to polish that off pretty fast. But like I said, the silhouette against the color of the sky is what really makes this incredibly pretty, and his little tail that's hanging down. Always like seeing that, and that's what you look for when you're driving around. If you see a leopard in a tree, it's often just that little tail that hangs down. In the Mara is a very good example of that. Often in the Mara, when you drive around, because of the trees that they like to use there that are quite densely foliated, all you see is this little tail blowing in the breeze, hanging down. Of course, tonight there isn't much of a breeze, but still, Alright, so we're going to sort out our infrared so that we can actually give you a little bit of a better view of what's going on. In the meantime, though, back across to David.
Well, there are now 2 hyenas in the area. No doubt getting more active as the moon comes out. The sun's setting, it's getting darker. This cub is still up here on the termite mound, looking intently in the direction of the hyenas, trying to stay undetected. Like I say, this cub is full of attitude. Doesn't seem at all worried, just curious. I believe everyone's a little bit worried about the cub. For a second there, it looked like the hyena were gonna let me go up the termite mound, but I wouldn't worry. This cub is quick, and Mom is near. I think we're gonna switch over to infrared now. It's getting nice and dark. Of course, out alone in the bush, this cub would be no match for a hyena, but it's got the high ground and it's nice and hidden up there. If a hyena was to walk up there, I reckon it would just run down and loop back to the tree. It seems very sure of itself. Melinda, how long can a leopard stay without eating is your question. That's a good question. Let me try and explain it the way I've seen it happen. Well, leopard will eat as often as they can, at least every couple days, depending very much on what they eat. So if they only manage to eat a scrub hare today, then they'll still take the opportunity to kill an impala tomorrow. But if a leopard manages to get maybe a larger animal like a wildebeest, then that'll satisfy him for probably around 3 days, depending on the size of the leopard and the size of the wildebeest. But like humans, animals can go longer than that without eating before they really start losing condition. And Melinda, an average, to answer your question, out here, depending on the meal size, every 2 to 4 days they'll be looking to make a kill. Well, we're not going anywhere. We're gonna stick here with this little guy, see what develops as the night grows darker. Why don't we send you back over to Tswalu Kalahari, where the sun is quite a lot higher in the sky.
Look how sublime that setting is. Those dunes in the far distance with the silver cluster leaves trees on top of them. Bit of dust in the air. 2 camel thorn trees in the foreground with bird nests. And even closer. And closer. And closer. 2 cheetah boys. Having a good snooze in the late afternoon. Andrew and I were just laughing about it. They are so full. They must have caught something earlier in the day. That does not look like the fastest animal on the planet. Yeah, fast asleep maybe. Nice gentle breathing. Wow. Jan, it's not often that I get a question like that, and I'd actually have to come back to you with numbers, and I'm sure there's probably been a bit of work done on it. What I can say is that leopards cover a far wider area currently certainly within southern Africa than cheetah do, but both of the species numbers are not high. They're both suffering a lot of, or number decline for various reasons, habitat loss, poaching, competition in agricultural areas, where they'll both go for livestock. Cheetah and leopard are well known for going for small stock. So both of the species are really under a lot of pressure throughout the areas, and there are areas in Africa where leopards got these real strongholds, down in Ngala and Juma, the Sabi sands, Timbavati, that whole area is a fantastic stronghold of leopard, for an example. But other areas, they're coming under a lot of pressure. The cheetah on the right has actually just sat up. We're just going to have a quick look there. So yes, to answer your question, I'd actually have to check what the numbers are, but it's a very good question. Look at that, eh? They're just hunkering down out of the wind now. They've both got full bellies. See that black and white behind the ears? Typical on a lot of your large cats, leopards included, lions have even got it. And there's various theories behind why they've got that, from following signals to warning coloration. But I think Tristan's got an incredible sighting on that side, so let's head over to him and we'll just keep tabs on these 2 boys. If there's any life in this wicket, we'll swing back to them.
Well, I think we've all got incredible sightings across the board at the moment. To have spotted cats on 3 or 4 feeds is pretty ridiculous. And really nice to see the difference between the two. So to have the cheetah at Tswalu Kalahari and to have the leopards here in the low veld, and to be able to really notice the difference between the 2 cats and how the spot patterns vary, how the size of a leopard, the bulk of a leopard versus the slender, sleek, long kind of build of a cheetah. It's really cool to see, because so often we talk about the differences between leopard and cheetah, and it's hard to explain it sometimes without, you use pictures, but when you can actually see each animal on the screen, one after another, you can really start to see those differences. And one of the differences is obviously the way in which these guys eat and the way in which they store food up in trees. So you can see he's climbed up the tree now and he's literally just going to eat this. Now, some of you might be sensitive viewers, and I'm going to warn you that it's about to get a little bit rough, because what's happening is he's about to eat the head. So there's going to be a lot of crunching, and the visual of it is going to be quite disturbing for those of you that don't like it. So if you don't like it, now is probably the time to look away. There's nothing wrong with looking away or turning the sound down. But for those of you that are interested, I'm going to keep quiet, because it's going to be the most sound we're going to get out of this kill is now. So the crazy thing about it, while he's just chewing that little piece, is that he's going to have the power to actually crunch that whole skull down. Like I say, I know this is difficult for a lot of you to watch, and I know it's a difficult thing to witness. I mean, we've obviously had the lion kill the other day, which is incredibly hard, and warthogs have got to be the worst when it comes to live kind of kills or kills that people see just because of the noise that they make. And I mean, in a way, we were lucky that it was lions. If it's a leopard, and warthogs can go on for a much longer period of time. But as much as it's hard, it's fascinating to watch how these guys go about it and how these predators eat. And if you compare the lions that we saw feasting on that warthog and the ferocity of that and the competition of that and how there was no structure, rhyme or reason, everyone was just grabbing something somewhere and just trying to get, whereas the leopard is a lot more surgical in its ability to eat. Because it's on a carcass by itself, it can slowly take its time and it will work at certain sections. And so what it's busy with now is it's actually trying to crack their brain casing open and get to the brain. The brain is a nutritious part of an animal's body, and so they actually quite like it. And what they do is they often crunch from the top there and they open that out and then they eat what's inside. Brain casing cracking under the force of these jaws, which is pretty insane. Now, in this particular case, it's still a young impala, so it will be much easier. The bigger the impala, the harder this is for a leopard to do, and the more they struggle. What you can also see, which is quite nice from this particular view, and because of the fact that the infrared does reflect off their eyes, is you'll notice that there is still a small pinprick of reflection that comes through on that blind right eye. So he had basically a punctured eye, so we think a claw went into his eye and has damaged it, and that will never heal, so he'll never have sight, but there might be a small little bit of light that is hitting the retina, and he might have a slightly kind of, I mean, maybe when I say partial vision, a very, very small kind of milky view out of that eye. But it's interesting to see that there's a pinprick that shines back. A lot of the time when you see leopards getting cataracts or lions and their eye kind of goes over like the Nkuhuma pride female, they don't have that pinprick of light that returns back at you. That just becomes kind of a dead eye, whereas you see with him, there's still this little small pinprick of light, and so I wonder if he can see anything or if it's just completely hazy or how it looks for him. But poor guy obviously sustained quite a few injuries in a quick space of time. He was a beautiful cat before that, before he lost his eye. I mean, it's added a lot of character to him now, but prior to that he was looking so amazing. I remember seeing him about a week before he lost it, and it was the best I'd seen him look in a long time. He looked big and powerful, and it was actually starting to look quite pretty. Because Hukamuri, I like him, he's got a lot of character, but he's never been the prettiest of males. He's more this kind of rough and ready kind of leopard, and particularly because he doesn't do himself any favors, this cat. Often when he's seen resting, he has this long tongue that just hangs out for some reason. It's my absolute favorite, seeing him. I remember I once got a photo of him on a mound, and he's got this tongue hanging out. It just looks absolutely ridiculous. But that particular last time I saw him before the eye loss, he didn't have his tongue out as much, and he just looked really good. Shikaka, you say hunts with one eye? Yep, it's quite common to see. Many of the lions and leopards out here, it happens to them. One of the most successful female leopards of the entire Sabi Sands, who survived to an incredible 19 and a half years old. Now, 19 and a half years old for any animal or any leopard across the board. So we're talking about wild areas, zoos, those captivity, 19 and a half is ancient. And she had only one eye for, I think it was about the last 6 or 7 years. I'm not quite sure of the exact date. For the last 6 or 7 years, she only had one eye and was absolutely perfect. I've seen many lions with it. We know the Nkuma pride, the lioness that actually grabbed the warthog, only has one eye. So it's a common thing to see out here, and those animals still are able to do extremely well. Their depth perception is probably a little bit off compared to what it used to be, but they start to learn and they get it right. And you'll find that these guys are masters, and their sense of hearing, their sense of smell, their whiskers, those will all come in handy then for them to be able to start working out what's going on and being able to then hunt successfully. And you can see, he's doing very well. I don't think he stole this kill from anybody else. So here comes a hyena. Look. That one got a little piece. It's going to be a happy hyena. It'll be interesting to see how many arrive here, but I would imagine this is going to be a very similar scene when we throw you across to David now. He's got the cub. I'm sure there's hyenas hanging around in that area too.
Tomorrow. Well, we've just come back to the tree with the impala carcass in it, and having a look at Kuchava. She seems to be very sleepy. Having a bit of a nap. Perhaps she wants to have another nibble on the carcass. It's interesting, she is called Kuchava, which means afraid in the local language. But she's no longer afraid. I imagine when she was younger, she used to be very skittish, and that's where she got her name from. But she seems to have outgrown that. Not at all fazed by us. So we move a bit forward, BK. See if we can get a bit of a look through the branches there. It's a bit of a difficult spot. With those leaves in the way. There we go, I can see her a bit better there. Michael Fleetwood, you've asked if we can give you a bit of an idea of where we are on Chitwa. Michael, we are north of the dam. Looks like she's going to go down the tree. Let's watch her. The hyena seems to have left the area for now, so She's not in any hurry. Perhaps she wants to go and greet her cub and see what it's up to on the termite mound. We can swing around there. Have a look. I'm going to move around shortly and see if she goes to join a cub, but let's send you back over to Tswalu Kalahari with their cheetah.
So these cheetah boys are just chilling, I think literally and figuratively. They're relaxing, you know, they've obviously got full bellies, but the temperature now is plummeting. It's, since we've been sitting here, Yandra and I have been sitting here, it's probably dropped another 6-7 degrees. So I think tonight we're really going to go below zero, well below zero this evening. They sat up earlier, something drew their attention, neither of us could hear what it was, but they came alert very, very quickly. So that's one thing with any of the predators. Even if they are full and sleeping and relaxed like this, if something walks past close to them, there's always that chance that they'll take an opportunity at trying to catch something if it's easy enough. Some of the best kills that I've ever seen, you know, across the board, whether it's wild dogs, lions, leopard, have been cases where, you know, you're sitting there, it's a hot day, the animals are full, they're sleeping, nothing's going on, and then some other animal comes wandering past and doesn't actually pick up on those predators, and then it's absolute mayhem. So it's always worth spending time. Kavya's just asked, do cheetah normally stay in the company of another cheetah? What you find is your males normally go in what we call coalitions. So they can go in groups of 2, 3, 4. The most I've seen is 5 together. And they obviously are capable of hunting by themselves. The females are normally singular. So they'll go by themselves, they'll hunt. We've even had female cheetahs here by themselves catching ostriches. And that's, you know, some people would say that even your males are, you know, cautious about catching prey that size. But they're totally capable of doing it. So your males normally go in groups. Females normally move around by themselves unless it's a female with cubs or a female with large cubs. So, you know, that, you know, they on the edge of moving away from the female, then it'll look like you've got there's a group of, you know, there's a female with like 3 males with her, you know, but that would normally be a female with large cubs. The only other time that they would come together would be if the female's actually ready to mate again, and then you'd get the male coalitions joining up with her again. So the light is fading quite rapidly here now. I know it still looks very light compared to Juma and Gala, those areas. But the sun is well down, temperatures are dropping, and these two gents don't seem to be going anywhere. So I think we're going to pull out, move back to one of the roads, and we're going to hand you over to Tristan.
It's amazing, actually, the light difference between Tswalu and here. It's incredible to see how much darker it is on our side of the world. But our sun will come up a lot earlier, as we know, in the morning. So it's just a little bit of the thing because of how far west it is compared to how far east we are. But as you can see, Hukamuri is still crunching away. There's hyena down below, still ever longingly looking up in this leopard's direction, as if to say, please, 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 sir, can I have some more? and Hukumuri's not obliging at all. He is just eating everything that he can. He is chomping down as much as possible, which is good. There's be a nice fat full Hukumuri will be on the prowl later tonight. I'm sure he's going to go on a nice scent marking mission. Hopefully he scent marks his way all the way to Juma, and we'll have him again in the morning. At least we know that Kuchava and the cub, all things equal, should be around in the morning as well too, which is very cool. Look at how the hyena has run in. That's very, very cool. Now, we are coming towards the end of our drive, but before we kind of wrap things up, Lauren and Davy are one of our cam-ops and guides. For those of you that don't know them, I'm sure most of you will know exactly who they are, but they're going to be doing an Instagram live chat on the Wild Earth official Instagram page this evening. I believe they're going to be chatting about the leopards of Juma, and the photographs that they've taken of them and their experience with them, and some photography tips. So if you would want to join that, just hop on as soon as drive wraps. So that's 6 o'clock CAT, and they'll be on the Instagram live page. You can just join it. You'll see a little notification pop up, and you can join in and ask any questions that you have for the two of them. Like I said, I think they're discussing leopards this evening, which will be nice. And it goes perfect day to be discussing leopards, given what we've had this afternoon across our traverse. I can't say Juma today because it's been Chitwa and Simambili that have delivered this evening. They've been the two standout performers tonight, so that's really, really cool. And there's so much that could have still been found on Simambili. There was lots of tracks, there was alarm calls, there seems to be a lot going on here, which is really nice. The other bit of news that I have to tell you is that the Nkuhuma Pride has somehow snuck into the middle of Juma today without us even noticing. They're apparently lying just off quarantine, so don't know quite how we missed that this morning, but anyway, it's the way it goes. So they're still around. Maybe they'll serenade us on the dam cam later tonight, so keep an ear out for those of you that watch the dam cam too. But what a fantastic afternoon we've had. I mean, there's been something for pretty much everybody today. So nice to have cheetahs and that semi-arid savanna of Tswalu versus this kind of more typical savanna biome that we've got up here. The two different cat species. We've had, elephants. There's been all kinds of things. So it's been a really, really epic drive. And I think actually for me, besides the leopard, the other highlight that I had this afternoon was that chameleon. So cool to see that as well. But anyway, it is that time where we need to say goodbye to all of you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you had fun. Don't forget David and Lauren's Instagram Live starting in a few minutes. And so from all of us across all of the parts of South Africa, it's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you tomorrow morning and sunrise safari.